probably not as expressed like this since Hitler. ISIS has burned a Jordanian pilot alive. That's right. Welcome to the savage nation. What a sad day it is for the human race. Man's inhumanity to man. ISIS took that poor Jordanian pilot, put him in a cage, and burnt him alive. And the best that our president could say is our thoughts and prayers continue to be with Lieutenant al-Kaseasbeh and the Jordanian people. Now, you know, I thought about this on a bicycle ride before the show, because this is getting more depressing by the day to think that we have such a weak president that he would permit them to rage like this across the Middle East in a blitzkrieg with very little other than a little wrist slapping through our F-16s and a few missiles here and there. And you ask yourself, how long can this go on? How long can this go on? Is this Hitler taking the Sudetenland? Is this Hitler taking the Rhineland? Or is this ISIS wanting to take the entire world and convert it to Muhammad's vision? Islamic State jihadists released a video today showing a Jordanian pilot being burned alive. Air Force First Lieutenant Muath al-Kaseasbeh was kidnapped by the militants after his jet fighter crashed December 26th near their stronghold city of Raqqa in Syria during a bombing run. In the 22-minute video from Islamic State's Al-Furqan media, the pilot is seen with a black eye and later being burned alive as he stands in a cage, NBC News reported. His death would mark a failed bid for a prisoner exchange for a female monster suicide bomber held in Jordan. Now, I ask you a question. What should the United States do? You know, we understand that you can't kill everyone on earth in order to get at the bad guys. However, there will come a time when a decision is going to have to be made that is a Hobson's choice. I'll remind you of what Harry Truman had to decide in World War II. The American people were exhausted from a war against Germany and a war against Japan. They had defeated Germany, but the war in the Pacific raged on. And the American military calculated that it would take 1 million men, American men would die, in a land invasion of the main island of Japan in order to conquer the Japanese, who would not give up. They would not surrender. Even though their Air Force had been decimated, their Navy had been decimated, they were not going to give up. In fact, the Japanese had issued bamboo knives. They told every resident, old women even, were taught to make knives out of bamboo sticks. And they said that when the Americans come, even the old women would be required to kill Americans. So Truman knew that it would cost them 1 million American lives to conquer Japan. And you know what he decided? Better them than us. And when he was told that if we drop our experimental weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of innocent men, women, and children would die in Japan, he said, that's horrible. That's tragic, but better them than us. That's what Truman decided. Now we come forward in a world where there is moral equivalency, not only in the universities, but, of course, in the embodiment of the academic running America. A man who spends all of his viciousness attacking Republicans and the American people themselves rather than ISIS. And so I ask you, what would you do? And the more I think about burning a man alive, the sicker I get. Even Hitler wouldn't show what he was doing. So ask yourself, who was worse, Hitler or the Islamo-fascists? Even Hitler would not show what he was doing to people in the concentration camps. He hid it. So why are these monsters showing it? Well, the reason they're showing it is to induce terror in the world's population. What they're doing right now is what their ancestors or their antecedents did in the 6th century when Islam first blew up out of Mecca and almost conquered a good portion of the Middle East. They did it through burning, killing, raping, burning libraries. That's how they did it then. The good old-fashioned way. The good old-fashioned way that the Mongols had used prior to them. We have the weapons to stop them, but we don't have the leadership to stop them. We have young men in F-16s who could take them off the map in 72 hours. But we have a woman running the Air Force who's never flown a Piper Cub, who answers directly to the sorority that runs America. And, you know, I thought more about this on my bicycle ride before today's program. not only about burning a man alive in a cage for all the world to see, and the world doing nothing, the world so apathetic that it focuses instead on the laugh-a-thons on television, the perversion in the movies, and no one rises up in the country and say, enough is enough, do something, stop them before they kill all of us? No, they do nothing. Instead, they attack the Tea Party. Here in America, the domestic fifth column, I'll give you an example. The domestic fifth column considered to be, let us say, Code Pink. I'm going to give you an example. Code Pink are a group of women troublemakers whose leadership met in Iran with Holocaust deniers, put a headscarf on it. Here's a leftist woman who goes to Iran at a Holocaust-denying conference, and a feminist who puts on a headscarf to comply with the monsters in Iran. That's the enemy within. That's the fifth column, one example of them. But she represents an awful lot of others, like all of those on MSNBC, doesn't she? And you know what formula occurred to me on my bicycle ride today before the show? Tell me if I'm wrong. The Holocaust deniers are the ISIS deniers. I said, my God, it's like a bulb went off in my head. The very same leftists and Islamists who deny the Holocaust deny ISIS's monstrosities. The Holocaust deniers are now the ISIS deniers. Am I wrong or am I right? Start calculating things from that perspective and tell me if I'm wrong or I'm right. Watch the laugh-a-thons tonight on television. Watch all of the government jesters. Watch Bill Maher, government jester. Watch Colbert, government jester. Watch that other guy whose name I always forget. I don't know what it is. Government jester. Watch them cover up for Obama. Watch them spend more time attacking Republicans, conservatives, Tea Party members, and the military, football players, everybody but ISIS. And ask yourself how we can win a war when we have so many enemies within. How is it possible to win this war? So that's the main topic on my mind. That's the main topic on my mind. ISIS took a pilot, put him in a cage, ran a line of gasoline to him in the cage, and then set him on fire while he was living. Jordanian pilot burned alive by ISIS, and Obama says virtually, well, what did Obama say? Didn't he say something?
Should, in fact, this video be authentic, it's just one more indication of the viciousness and barbarity of this organization. And it also just indicates the degree to which whatever ideology they're operating off of, it's bankrupt. We're here to talk about how to make people healthier and make their lives better.
He's talking about vaccines. Instead of vaccinating America against Islamofascism, he wants to come up with a story about measles and not tell you that the epidemic was started by the children he brought in by the trainload this summer. You notice what he just said, whatever organization is doing this. Did you catch that? He wouldn't even say Islamic State. You talk about propaganda and double talk. He wouldn't even say Islamic State jihadists burned the man alive. He said whatever organization, whatever failed ideology. It's astounding. The acronym ISIS is Islamic State. It's not the Buddhist state. It's not BISIS. It's not the Jewish state. It's not JISIS. It's not the Hindu state. It's not HISIS. Mr. President, wake the hell up! The people will only take so much. We are in danger. This goes well beyond Hitler in terms of the escalation of inhumanity to man. Do you understand this? Even Hitler's sadistic monsters hid what they were doing, while the Islamics cancel the word God. I can't say that. Where are the gays, damn it? ISIS hurls gay man from roof, crowd stones him to death after fall. Where's the gay movement? Why, they're attacking the Tea Party. They're attacking Republicans. They're attacking conservatives. ISIS hurls gay man from roof, crowd stones him to death after fall. ISIS burns Jordanian pilot alive. Where are all the loudmouth humanists on the left? Well, they're the Holocaust deniers, and now they're the ISIS deniers. So this is the news. What do you want me to do? Change it to a laugh-a-thon? Do you want me to talk about something other than the most horrendous story I've ever seen in my entire life? I mean, it was bad enough raping and killing and burying people alive, but I didn't actually see it. Well, now your friends, ISIS, took this captured pilot, put him in a cage, and set him on fire. What should America do when we have a quisling in the White House? What should we do when we see with our own eyes? Anyone with an intelligence level above 90, an IQ above 90, knows that we have worse than a quisling in the White House. Now, some would say he's a fellow traveler. I don't agree with that at all. I don't believe he's a sympathizer with Islamic terrorism at all. I think that he is a quisling in another regard, which is if you put your head in the sand as to what is actually happening and say it's not happening, and if you refuse to connect it to Islamic terrorism, then what would you explain that as? How would you describe that? Well, you'd say he doesn't want to ignite a war against all of Islam, and you could say there's a reason for that, and there's a reasonable expectation that the academics running America are afraid to ignite a religious war. What they have to recognize is that the religious war has been ignited. It was ignited 1,000 years ago. It's just that this religious war is now reaching a higher temperature because the opposition has no opposition. You see, Obama caused the rise of ISIS, which, again, you don't want to hear. You say, oh, look, I don't want to hear the Obama bashing. Well, don't hear it. Go talk about a deflated football, you idiot. Moron, you. Put your hat on backwards, idiot. Obama caused this. He was warned by the military not to remove all American troops from Iraq. Was he not? Was he not told to keep a force of 100,000 there to prevent this from happening? And what did he do? He gave them the middle finger. He said, screw you. I know more than you. I am Obama the Great. I know everything. I know better than doctors about medical care. I know better than the military about military. I know everything about climate. I'm an expert on everything. I'm Obama the Great. And so he pulled all American troops out of Iraq, and he created a vacuum. And what happened was the Iraqi army fled, and they left our tanks, our wonderful Abrams tanks, and other heavy weapons in the hands of ISIS. In fact, they probably joined ISIS by now, since they know how to use them. And as a result of this, we have this monstrosity of Islamofascism flaring out of control in a blitzkrieg, now burning a Jordanian pilot alive. And that, my friends, is the news of the day, and I'll be right back.